Welcome to Promote Profit Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and this is our June month training. So I'm really excited to have Snowtree Media here today. I've been bugging these guys. I'm going to make them feel guilty right now. I've been bugging them for like 4 months now to do this. So they finally said yes and got on. Before I introduce them, look, she's embarrassed. Before I introduce them, I want to mention we have some more events this month. We have a book development panel that's on the 16th, The Power of the Page. And we're going to have 3 book developers talking about what to do to develop your book today and what not to do, because so many people are using AI, and you can tell. So they're going to talk a lot about that and what's really going on. You can sign up for that at powerofthepage.com. And then the second thing is on July 5th, I am going to be hosting next month's training, and it's Your Funnel Isn't Broken, It's Empty. So we're going to talk about, and Rebecca Bertoldi will be assisting me a little bit. We're building funnels, and y'all don't know how to drive traffic. And a funnel doesn't do you any good unless you learn that other step on how to build that traffic in there. And with Amazon's new rules, you have to have those funnels in place because they are rewarding content creators and they are rewarding external links. And that all comes, Stacy and Nate can explain that. It all comes from your content. It comes from all of your email list, all of those things that many of you didn't build to begin with. So anyway, that is on the 5th. You can, I'm sorry, July 10th, not the 5th. The 5th would be right after Memorial, or right after 4th of July, and nobody would come. So it's July 10th. You can sign up for that at Breakthrough Events, the number 3.com, breakthroughevents3.com. So you can go ahead and get signed up for that. So today's guests are Stacy Deering and Nate Brown, and they are with Snowtree Media, and they teach practical, results-driven digital marketing strategies designed to help authors and entrepreneurs grow their visibility and reach the right audiences. Through hands-on guidance, they show people how to build a strong online presence, create compelling content, and develop effective websites, and use social media and messaging to turn your ideas into real momentum and measurable growth. They work with a couple of my authors doing the stuff that I don't like to do because I like to build your platform and publish. So they do all the stuff I don't do. So very happy. Who's presenting today, Nate or Stacy?
It'll be me starting. So
okay. All right.
So thank you. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for, we are both from Oklahoma, so we have Oklahoma accents, if you guys can put up with that for today. And just letting you know, I am the owner of Snowtree. There's actually 2 sides to Snowtree. One works for businesses and one works for authors. And you're wondering why I'm telling you that. I'm not just chasing a rabbit hole. There is a point, is that we have noticed, like on the side of our business that works for authors, we are businesses, the side of our business that works for businesses, a lot of those businesses have like 12 competitors, right? And that's pretty easy for us to watch that competition, to be competitive. We can move that sales dial, usually Nate, within 6 to 8 weeks, and it's trackable, and we can do some things like that because there's not as much noise and not as many competitors around that business, right? So on the author side, what we've noticed is that it's not too much different, other than it just takes longer because you don't just have 12 competitors that we're watching, you have millions, right, that are being published at the same time. And now, especially with the use of AI, which you really don't want to get me started on that, because I think that's cheating when people will use AI to write a book and just publish it. To me, that's just wrong, but that's a whole different, segment. But, there's millions of competitors of people who get published. And so the good part of that is that they say that most people who publish a book publish it and do nothing with it. I think, isn't that right, Juliet? Isn't it like 90% or something? It's in the crazy numbers that most people will publish a book and they'll walk away, right? And I am shocked by that, because if you could get me to sit still long enough to actually write a book, I'm going to market that thing, right? It's going to be my baby, and I'm going to market that thing. And so the fact that you guys are already involved in doing different marketing, you're already ahead of that curve, right? So that's a good thing.
Same thing. I forgot. I'm still on extension.
Hold on.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I thought it was on my side.
No, I was trying to figure out who to mute.
So what it does, what we talk about is that, first of all, there's different things we want people to look at when they publish. Are they going to do digital marketing, right? That means you're already passing millions of people, right? And getting people to view your book and see your content. If you're doing digital marketing, the other thing that we talk about, and I love, this is why we work so well with Juliet, is we tell an author, yes, you've published a book. Yes. And hopefully you've published more books, right? Not just one, but maybe, published a book. What else can you market alongside that book? What's a supplemental marketing thing that you can do that is also marketable, right? So we tell people, look at your book and take an inventory of what you can offer, right? And it doesn't mean start a whole business. It doesn't mean anything like that. It can be something as simple as wanting to write a newsletter, wanting to write a blog, if you're available for public speaking, we love that. That's one of our favorite ones. Are you able to go to conferences? Are you able to, set up a booth at conferences and share your message? What is your message? That kind of thing. So we tell people, take an inventory of everything that you can offer. And if you're not a public speaker, don't panic. That's fine too. There's so many things online that you can offer. Once again, the blogs, like that's something that you can offer. Getting people to sign up for an email newsletter. If you can do public speaking, it's even better because you can do a podcast, right? You can be available for being booked at different conferences, different groups, and it doesn't matter how big the group, start somewhere. A lot of times if you speak at a group, they're going to buy your book. I mean, they are most of the time, and especially carry those books with you, be ready to sell. So there's things like that we always say, take inventory of what you can do that will also supplement and add to the marketing of your book. Because really, one book doesn't really make a business at first, right? So you have to come up with what am I? What is my total brand? What all can I offer that I can market alongside this book, right? And so then we tell people, take inventory, write down every single thing that you're passionate about. And we say for the first year, have fun. Try anything that you want, have fun with your marketing, plan it out, try different things. There's no mistakes, right? I mean, you're just usually if you try something and it doesn't work, really, it just tells you and shows you how to pivot to something else. So we always say, try anything you want for the first year, have fun with it. Try writing newsletters, try getting people to sign up for the newsletters. If you're writing a Christian book, offer to do an online class that goes around your book, that you can provide like a study that goes with it. If you have a book of any type that offers some educational material, such as for businesses or for education, try to form a class around that, right? Come up with things that you can market alongside your book, things that the book markets that and that markets the book. And so it just gets you to move faster down that path of trying to rise above those millions of people that are also publishing at the same time. And Juliet's company is fantastic at that. I have learned even so much more from her, just about different ways people can be discovered, right? Because when you first get published, no one knows who you are yet, right? And so how do we get you to where people know who you are, they know your message, and they're interested in your entire brand, every piece of that brand that you offer. So the first thing that we recommend, take inventory of what all you can offer alongside the book that also promotes the book as well and promotes you as a person. And so the next thing that we say to do is, this is where Nate's going to take over because he's smarter than me, is we say, yeah, he really is. We say, okay, you take all of that inventory and you look and say all the things you want to offer alongside your book. And then guess what? We need one place that has all of that information, right? And so what's the perfect place to have all that? Which is also a digital platform, which can also be discoverable online through search engines and things like that. So the next phase is automatically a website. And we always say that that is your information hub, right? And we're going to get into a little bit more digital marketing a little bit later. But just know when people find you on social media or they find you through other platforms or places, immediately they will go look up and find to see if you have a website to find more about you. And we have learned the opposite too. If they find your website, they're more likely to go look on your social media. So it's a great way to be discoverable and for people to really be able to dig in and be like, what does this author offer? Like, what is all available to us, that this author offers? So Nate is going to talk about how to build the hub, and just what's important to the website and how to make that your centralized hub. So Nate, take it away.
Yeah, so thanks, Stacey. So the real importance of like a website, for instance, is, as Stacey was saying, is bringing all your resources together, right? And also creating a unique brand and personality for your book, your authorship, your brand, everything. And so what we like to do is kind of learn, okay, what is it your book's trying to get across? Who is your brand? What resources you have? And we bring all of that together in one place. And so the nice thing about a website is it can show part of your personality, right? Part of your brand, part of what you're trying to convey. In the world of social media is great, obviously, but everybody has the same look, the same profile, the same content, the same everything, right? A website, with that, you can bring all of your personality and ideas across to portray whatever you'd like, right? So say if you're doing a children's book, you can really up that with backgrounds and colors and music. And so we like to be able to customize websites to the full degree, right? We want to put videos on there. We want to put downloads on there. We really want to get across why your book is set apart from everybody else, right? As Stacey was saying, there's millions of competitors out there and authors, right? There's books being released every day. So we have to really prove why this book is different. Why does somebody need to read this book? What's out there that's just different from everybody? And so with that, I'm going to actually screen share a little bit. Juliet, I had some sites pop up, so I'm going to request that just real fast. Let me pull this down. And so I just want to show a couple of sites here that really show off why things are different. Let me pop this to see my screen now. So this is a book, for instance. It's obviously based around children. So we're able to come in here. This is on a platform called AuthorStage. I'm sure we'll talk about this more later on. But it's a one-stop shop for this book. It's a one-page landing page where we can get all of our links for different platforms to buy the book, to purchase the book. We have a video to showcase, like a book trailer, interviews, any type of videos you want to do. We got reviews right on the page and also a contact form. For this book, this works great. It's very quick and to the point because a lot of people, and many authors included, probably don't love websites because, it's just one more thing you have to think about outside of social media and different platforms and everything. But it's important to realize that there's a lot of people that would prefer a website that just get to the point, right? And so they don't have to go search for information. They don't have to click different tabs. They don't have to do all this different stuff. And so it's important to remember that, you have to attract different groups of people with different mindsets, right? And so with that also, you may want more of a site that, really showcases different videos you've done and different stories. Maybe it's some more heart impacting stories. So for instance, this one we have with Ashley Halford, this is a custom site we built. And you can see here, we open up with some strong imagery. We get into her story more than what you probably could on social media, in just one stop. It's not going to get lost in the mix of ads and sponsors and all this different stuff. It's showcased right here in front of you. And then we can go down here, get videos, different content and so forth. And then again, more content. And then we promote the books as well, of course, which they can purchase directly on Amazon with a couple clicks, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is get your book sold. We want people to buy those buy links, those purchase links, whether it's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, the whole gamut of different platforms out there. And so, and then another area we want is people to connect with you. And so, we always make call to actions or CTAs really strong on our pages. So that way they can drop into your funnel, as people know it as. And then that way you can start drip campaigns. You can do newsletter subscriptions. There's all sorts of ways that your website can tie into different funnels and different avenues that you may have. And so, where with social media, you're fighting a lot of different things, such as ads and sponsors and so forth and so on, and other authors, obviously. Whereas with this, with a website, it's 100% you. It's customized for you. It has your brand. It has your personality. And I'm sure all of you know all about branding from Juliet. She does a wonderful job at it. And so we really try to up that and bring across those personalities for books. And here's another one again. You can view all the books, see all the books they offer, all on one page, all with the buy links right there. Easy, simple, clean. You're not going to get lost in anything. And then what's nice about this also is it ties back into the social media side. So, all of this, we always link back to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever the platform you may be focusing on, whatever's coming out tomorrow, because I'm sure there'll be a new one. But so we always try to tie those back together. So that way there's back and forth communication, right? And so if somebody happens to find your website first, like Stacy said, they're going to be able to find your social. And ideally, if they're on your social, they'll be able to find your website as well. So that's just a quick look at why we kind of take emphasis on websites, is to create that separation from everybody else, right? These people went a little above and beyond of, just posting once a week on social media, for instance. That's going to quickly get lost. And so that's why, like Stacy and her team and all of us, we try to emphasize, yes, you want to be posting regularly and consistently, but also we need somewhere to funnel those people to. And so whether it's a landing page on your website or a specific, form or newsletter or whatever it may be for your scenario, we want to drive them directly to there. And what's nice with this is you get, custom emails even with a domain like this. So that way you're not having to tell people, well, it's, just a regular Yahoo or Gmail account. You have a custom domain with your book title or with your name tied to it directly. And so it's just one more way of building that brand and that recognizability of your name and your book and title, whatever it may be. And so, yeah, that's kind of some of the important parts of a website. There's a lot more that we can go along with that. We can tie it into all sorts of systems, such as Go High Level and different avenues that I won't get into right now. But so, yeah, there's a lot of avenues that you can go with that. So that's kind of why a very brief and look at why we think websites are important, just to create separation and make you stand out more.
Yeah, Nate, can I add too? Can you go back to the one you were just at? You guys notice that a lot of these he's putting, there's a blog, there's content, whether it's a LinkedIn newsletter, whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, a YouTube channel, you have to have content. With the new rules at Amazon and the external link rules, they're rewarding content creators. So if you don't have content out there, chances are the algorithms are not going to be friendly to your book when it gets up. So it is really important that you start getting those together and producing them weekly, and have a call to action on every single one of them, because that's what builds your list. And your list is another source of those external links where people are finding your book. So I just wanted to point that out here, because all of the people you work with me either have a blog or a podcast as well. So they're out there building that audience in advance so that they have readers for that book.
For sure. And to tag along with what you said, keeping that content fresh and consistent, don't just start a blog, run it for a month and then stop. That's something you have to keep going. Otherwise, Google and all these search engines that we're trying to get in front of, they're going to see that as what they call stale content. And that's the last thing you want them to think is, oh, they have a blog, but they haven't updated it in 2 years. So why would I promote that, right? That's old, outdated content, especially in the world of digital media, right? And so just to tag along, keep it fresh, keep it going, keep it consistent. Even if you don't see, amazing results in the first few months or 6 months, whatever it may be, keep going, keep pushing it, because creating that content and a place where people can come to find the specific content you're putting out is valuable. So.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen overnight. I think that's the one. I call it like magical thinking. Like when your daughter says, I need a Barbie, and you're like, you want a Barbie. You don't need a Barbie. It is something that you have to do consistently, and you have to learn. And there is, what would you guys say, the learning curve for digital marketing is fairly steep. It's going to take you probably a good 6 months. And there are going to be some failures along the way, a lot of failures, because it is a lot to take in and learn. So you be gentle with yourself when you fail, because everybody does it. It's not just you.
Everybody does.
For sure.
Everybody
and that's
does.
One thing we try to get across is, we're going to try different things. We don't have the magic answer for every single thing, right? We have a lot of trial and error that we go through. And so, we're going to try something for a few months, see how it pays off. If it does well, great. We'll tweak it, make it even better. If it doesn't do well, great. We'll tweak it, make it even better, right? So, it's just that repetition, that consistency of getting it out there and then seeing, okay, how do we need to mold this a little bit to reach the people we want to reach? So.
And it might take a couple different things. I just relaunched my mystery, and I tried a couple different things, didn't work, wasn't getting traction. I combined two. It's on steroids now. So, you have to just kind of do the trial and error and be open to trying new things, because you have to remember marketing. I know you guys see this too. Marketing changes about every 9 to 18 months. So that's the bad part of this, is just when you've got it down and just when you've learned it, it goes sideways.
Or the platforms change the rules, or that, it's just constant. Yeah.
And another thing you have to think of is I view and see things differently than how Stacy does, for instance. Something may attract my eye that, I need to check that out, that she would just gloss over, and everybody's the same way. We all get attracted by different things differently. And so, whereas you as an author may say, well, I want a big flashy button on the homepage that says this. Okay, that's great. It works for you, but a lot of people may just gloss over that. So we need multiple different ways of catching their attention, different call to actions throughout the page, throughout social media, that, just kind of get a group of people that as many different avenues as we can into one spot. And so.
Yeah. And that leads us to, are you ready for the social media marketing, Nate? Are you ready for that? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. So that leads us to, once we create this website, the way that, we have them take inventory and we create the website. Really what's nice about the website, and as we showed, we actually have a platform where, a lot of authors do not want to do this multi-page website to start off with, right? We do have a platform that, by the way, we are going to offer some months free if you guys would like to use, and we will be sending that out. It's theauthorstage.com. It's a one-page website. You guys are welcome to use it for free for some months. We're going to give a code. Juliet, are you putting that at the end? Like the code will just be super brand. We will set that up later today, and that way you can get some feel for just if you just want a single site. Juliet may already have you guys all connected with other types of sites, and that's fine too. And really, you can't have more than one. So it's, I mean, you can have more than one is what I'm trying to say. You can't have too many digital presences. So if you decided you wanted the simple one-page site, we do have an option for that. And we were going to offer it to you guys for free for a few months if you guys would like to try it. We also offer multi-page sites as well. So, which we do recommend, honestly, multi-page sites for the long run, but it's okay to start with a one-page site. It is absolutely okay to, take it step by step and start with a one-page site. So we'll provide some more information for that later. But once we get have them take inventory, we have you take inventory of everything that you can offer online and in person. We build the website, and during that website building, that's when we discover your style and we discover your branding, right? What you want it to look like, what the things that you want to offer, the messages that you want to put out there, right? About your book, about you, about anything, you know, that you want to put out there. So the next part is the social media side of it, the digital marketing. I mean, there are so many different levels to this. I'm going to stick with just social media for right now. I mean, we can talk about Google ads, we can talk about all kinds of things like that for your website, but those are a little bit more intense. So let me just talk about social media for right now. And I know that my company makes its living off of social media marketing. But what I'm about to say is going to be funny because I actually personally can't stand social media. I don't even allow my teenage sons to have it. Okay, that's what's funny, right? So from a personal aspect, right, all these platforms I feel like are a little invasive, right? They are tracking everyone's movement. If you have any of those apps on your phone, and I'm not trying to scare you from social media, I promise there's a good end to this story when I'm not trying to scare you at first. But what they have done is they track everyone's movement. They track where you go, because, you know, if you've got a phone and you've got any of those apps on there, they know where you're going, right? They know what websites you've looked at. They know what times you're more likely to get on the app itself. They know what you're more likely to click on. They know what area you're more likely to click on, whether it's something in like the sidebar or if it's something in the main feed. They know, right? Because their algorithm is very, very smart, and it is getting better and better each day. Now, from a personal standpoint, I'm like, ooh, that's a little invasive. However, from a business standpoint and an author standpoint, yay that they do that, right? Like, that's a great thing that they do, because we can turn and use that. We're going to use it for good, right? We're not going to use it for something crazy. We're going to use it for good. And so the good part of that is that social media is able to give us, and over time, and the more you use it and things like that, it's able to put your content in front of the right people with pretty minimal effort at first. It can take quite a bit of effort at first, but it gets better. The more you use it, the more minimal effort it takes to get your ads in front of people that it thinks, based on their behavior, based on their purchases, based on the things they've browsed, based on places they've visited, which to me, that's creepy, but okay, but hey, we're going to use it for good. They will be able to put your content in front of those people, especially through paid ads that run in the background of like Meta, Facebook, Instagram. All of them now have an ads platform. So we do use that for good. So yes, I've had to overcome that, because for a business, it's fantastic. Am I going to let my 14-year-old son have social media right now? No. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just not. I could, but for us and what we're doing with business, it's fantastic. And so we recommend you do as many platforms as you can. Right? But if you really just need to focus and you're like, I just cannot do all of these at once, there are tools that help you do all of them at once, where you can post once and it'll go on all of them. But if you just want to focus on two, we recommend, Facebook and Instagram. If people tell you that Facebook is dead, it is not. That is where the Meta ads platform actually lives. And Meta owns Facebook and Instagram. So both of those apply. You link them together, you can run ads across both. So don't let people tell you that Facebook is dead. It is not. It is not at all. It still holds that. It still holds the ads platform. It's still engagement driven, things like that. So we come up with this website, we come up with your personality, we come up with all these things that you want to offer, right? And I'm glad, Julie, you brought up YouTube videos, like for podcasts and video content, all of those things, because all of those things it's going to seem a little counterproductive of what I'm going to advise you to post on social media, okay? If I went to lunch with someone and they just constantly said, hey, do you want to buy this porcelain pig I have in my purse? I have no idea where that just came from. I'm sorry. I don't even know anyone who would carry a porcelain pig. But let's just say they had something weird and they were like, do you want to buy this? And I'm like, oh, I thought we were just having lunch as friends to hang out and catch up, right? And they were like, well, yeah, great, but do you want to buy this? And we never have any back and forth, and all they do on their side is say, do you want to buy this? And they just keep pushing it in my face, right? Well, that's going to be annoying. And yes, it's weird. I came up with porcelain pig. I have no idea. There are no porcelain pigs in my house, just so you know. I don't know where that came from. But it's just the point of that you can't look at your social media like that. So posting about your book constantly is actually counterproductive, as weird as that is. And so that is the weirdest thing first that we try to get into, people's heads, is that don't post about your book constantly. Post about it maybe 20% of the time. You do about 5 posts, 4 posts, the 5th post, post about your book. And even at that, try to not just be like so sales driven that it's just every once in a while it's okay to have hey, buy my book on Amazon, it's here, and tell a little bit about the book. That's great. I would say do that once a month, right? The other ones I would, kind of sneakily slide it in. I'd be like, hey, are you interested in this topic? And you give a thought, right? And then be like, if you're interested in this and more, be sure to visit this Amazon link to purchase the book or learn more. So it's always the stuff that you're going to market that's going to better serve your book sales is actually not about your book. It's about all the extra things that you've done, the podcast, the blog, a newsletter, any of those things that you have, things about your personality. I mean, people love to learn about authors. A lot of times, if they buy into your personality, they're going to buy your book. They're more likely to do that. I mean, that's where you see all these influencers online. They started as, just sharing content that was interesting to people. And then they ended up writing a book later because, and then people bought their book there, and that's how they became bestsellers. So just know, share things about you, your personality, share the podcast videos, build a content folder that has all of those things in there that you can just drag over and share at different times. And then every great once in a while, every one fifth of the post, bring up the book and share the link, right? And I always tell people, send them to Amazon. Just like Juliet said, always send them to Amazon. We want to, that's better for the algorithm across the board, no matter what you're doing. Send them to Amazon. And so that's how we recommend that you do social media. There are so many tools out there right now it is not hard to make graphics at all anymore. And so one of the things we recommend people start with is, you're like, hey, I'm not a graphic designer. Well, guess what? Neither am I. I mean, it's crazy, but there are so many tools out there that now are available that make you look like a graphic designer with very minimal effort, such as one of them is Canva. And I'm sure everyone's heard of Canva, but canva.com, even the free version of Canva, it gives you these templates. You can just switch some wording out, switch some colors, download, and you're good to go. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed, by these, by trying to become a graphic designer. Share pictures of things, anything like that. Just don't always post about your book. And I know that just seems so backwards, but what we say is build your base content first and do post about your book. At the very beginning, make sure that you have some base information posted right up front, and maybe even do that before you start running ads or things like that. That way, when people scroll through, they can go back and be like, oh, okay, I want to learn more about that book. And they'll scroll back in your content and be like, oh, there it is. It's available on Amazon. And they can learn more. But then after that base content, that's what we say is stage 1, base content, just where can it be purchased, an author bio, about the book, like those types of things, all of those things. And each link should be its own post at the very beginning. Each link, you got Barnes and Noble, that should be its own link. And because there's some people who don't want to buy from Amazon, and which is funny because I just don't even imagine that, but there are people that don't like to buy from Amazon. So you put Barnes and Noble, you show that it's available on Apple Books and Google Play, all those places that it's available. Make each of those its own post, and that's a part of your base content. Now, after that's stage 1. After that is stage 2, and that's where you start posting your creative content. And to me, that's where the fun begins, because that is where you start posting about a podcast, and you start being like, hey, be sure to go visit my website. And you can take sections of your website and literally dissect it. And that's a ton of content right there that you can post about. So your second phase is more about like posting the different things you offer, posting your ideas and posting quotes and running ads. running ads in the background of all these social media platforms, believe it or not, is not hard. I don't want to get into the weeds of that right now, but they've made it even easier and easier. And one of the best things that you can do as an ad that will get you probably about 4 times more results when it comes to boosting your following and reach is a power quote. Come up with a power quote that is, and it doesn't even have to be your quote, as weird as that is. It can be any quote. Turn it into a graphic and use that as an ad. And that will get you more response usually. That'll get people's attention because people are looking online right now to be encouraged, to be inspired. They're looking for things like that. So if you have a quote that's out there, the ads platform will actually go out and find people, show them your quote that you're talking about. It'll have a link for them to be able to go follow your page, and then you've got them, right? So they're like, ooh, I like that quote. That's powerful, and then they'll go back and follow your page. So the first part is, once again, base content. What I feel like is boring content, but it's really not. It just needs to be there, right? And then the second part is the creative part, is like what's going to show your personality. Take the pieces from your website. If you're looking to, if you're available for speaking, post about that. Put, available for speaking. Post about that, and post about that you have a podcast, post different clips of videos from that podcast. Those things are the things that will get you more engagement and more attention than constantly posting about your book sale, or like, here, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. But do the other thing, and that will eventually help you, and it moves you down that sales path faster, and so have fun with it. As Nate said, we have failed more times. We've been doing this, for like 10 years, 8 to 10 years. We have failed so many times, it's okay. Like, you don't feel bad when you fail, because it's really just shows you where to pivot, right? So, and we always call it like you fail forward, right? You fail, but you fail in the right direction. And so just know that some things are not going to work, but some things are going to work. So those are the things I would say. LinkedIn is a very crucial one right now. I said Facebook and Instagram, but LinkedIn is a very crucial one. It is the only one that the algorithm now is more fair, where if people follow you, they will see your content. The other ones, you don't want me to get into all that. They change their algorithm constantly. But LinkedIn has the ability, you can turn on your account to do creator mode and send email newsletters to all your followers. So it gives you more options there. So, and it's easy to do. There's a ton of tutorials online about how to use it, but those are the 3 I would stick with: Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if possible. TikTok, if you're into video stuff, you can use TikTok. It is great. It is. It's just sometimes we know that authors don't want to come up with that much video content on their own, right? Now, there's ways around that, and I could teach a whole class on that. There's ways to kind of use content and stretch it and do that. But just know, I would start with Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn if that was the case. So definitely market the extras we talked about, like the inventory of what you have to offer. That does better than marketing the book straight, like just directly, right? And so, but always include a call to action. At the end of each post, I would still recommend, putting an Amazon link or putting a link back to the website. But other than that, I would keep the post creative and fun and personality filled, and showing off the other things that you have to offer. So, I could talk about this all day, so you guys stop me if you want to do questions. Any questions? And
does anybody have questions? What you just described is cold traffic. So if you understand the science of marketing, you have cold traffic. You can't sell to cold traffic. They don't want to buy. They don't know you. You have no credibility with them. So you have to spend that period of time warming up that cold traffic. And then when you start getting into your personality and your content, that's your warm traffic. And then they start buying when you have that, we'll call it hot traffic, which they know you, they like you, and they're ready to click through to buy something. The problem is most of you guys go straight from, hi, I'm Juliet and I have a book, go buy it, without all of that. And think about how that works for you in real life. If I went to Dorothy and said, hi, Dorothy, I'm Juliet. It's great to meet you. I have something to sell you. Probably she's going to walk away like, I don't know who you are. Why are you trying to sell me something? You have to remember that even with books, you have to build that relationship.
And I love how you were able to do that so professionally without bringing up a porcelain pig. So I have no idea, like, I had a little flair to mine that made no sense. But yes, it's the same thing. So, and Juliet is great about it, teaching people that. I have loved that. I've learned more from her in the last year. It's been fantastic. So, yeah, so if anybody has any questions for me or Nate, let us know. You want to ask us about Oklahoma and tornadoes, you're welcome to ask us that too. So
that is the number one question I ask them all the time. Like, aren't they scary? I'd rather be a California earthquake girl. It's like, boom, done. Your house is down and it's over.
Yeah. We haven't had any this year, so it's been a boring year this year, so we haven't had many. So, but yeah, any questions anyone has, and if you want, you're welcome to email me or Nate. Juliet has our contact info. And you're welcome to email us any questions if you ever have any.
Dorothy, did you have a question?
Yes, I was just wondering. Originally, I had two websites. I had the one that was the name of my first book, and then I have also got one called Grandma's Kitchen. So it's got a multiple of things that I'm in the process of doing. And so I was just wondering if it's best to have the name of the book as the website name, or is it better to have it as, or does it matter, or can you have two?
You can have two, and that's where it's okay to have two. It is. What we recommend usually is look at your overall brand and bring it under one brand. Like what you said, Grandma's in the Kitchen. Is that what you said? Grandma's
Country Kitchen. Yeah.
Grandma's Country Kitchen. So would would Grandma's Country Kitchen cover the other book as well that has its own website? I mean, could we bring that under, because the more, you can still have, that book can have its own website. Like that's not a problem. Like there's not an overkill in that. What I would do is, if you want to keep both, is I would make sure that they link together. Like you push people back to Grandma's Kitchen. But I actually would recommend moving everything under My Grandma's Country Kitchen, but it's not a problem. I mean, Nate, you may have a different opinion on that, just because, but you go ahead, Nate, you answer. You're smarter than me in that area.
No, so a lot of times, like Stacey was saying, we would probably recommend bringing it all under one place, just so you have all your resources in one spot. However, having two different sites is not a bad thing per se. But what we can also do with that, say you already have your two domains, and we move everything to one website, we can actually point the other domain directly to that page on that website as well. So that way you can still, point people directly to that book if you wanted to by giving them that domain, but it all lives under one site, one house, if you will. But as Stacey was saying, it kind of depends on your brand, if the books mesh well together, if they're fiction, nonfiction. There's a whole variety of variables for that. But so we kind of take that on a per author basis, if you will, and kind of analyze what we think would be best and then go from there. But, we've done both and able to support both. So.
And if you've already had things printed with, like the domain for the other book, and you're like, yeah, but I do want to go ahead and move, everything under Grandma's Country Kitchen, just like Nate said, you don't have to worry about like reprinting everything, right? Like that's the good part, is that it's one tweak in your domain account, to have that domain, your book domain, immediately transfer and push them to Grandma's Country Kitchen. So don't ever panic and think, oh, I got to reprint all this marketing material. No, you can keep both domains. We have a lot of authors that they will buy every domain under the sun, and all of those point to the main website. And it's smart to do that, right? It's smart because you catch more searches, you catch more people. So to just know you don't have to reprint everything, just because we say, hey, move it all under one.
Mm-hmm. And Dorothy had a brand guide before she started, so that the sites are complementary as well. Nice. So that's, if you have a brand guide, you can get away with that. I want to mention right now, we're doing a website. When you do your first website, hire a professional copywriter to do it, because I can take a look and with less than 3 seconds, I can see that you probably wrote it yourself. And I'm actually working on a website right now where whoever wrote the copy kept saying how cinematic these books are, but the website has this plain white backing. It doesn't the words don't match the feel of the site. So that's why that brand guide is so important. If you're saying my novels are cinematic and then it's just on a plain white background, that's not really communicating that they're cinematic. He happens to have videos that are going with this as well. So we just, put some color and some adventure and some excitement in there. So it actually does look cinematic. So that very first time, I would suggest that you have a professional write your website copy, write your funnel as well. You can always copy and do spins off of it once it's done. But when you try to write it yourself and you don't understand copywriting, it's going to fall flat. There's no doubt about that.
And
we can also, okay.
I was going to say, I'd even extend that a little bit to the design of the site. There's a lot of sites out there that'll do templates and stuff for you that look like every other site out there.
Yeah.
But with that, if you hire a designer and a developer, you're able to customize it to your wildest dreams, right? But also they know the UI and UX tips of, how people use websites and what they're looking for and so forth. And then on top of that, they know how it breaks down to mobile, so it may look great on your desktop, but 99% of people are on their phone 99% of the day. And so we want it to look great on the phone as well. And so designers, developers, they kind of know that. They know what's coming in for it. A lot of templates do well at breaking that down as well. So I don't want to negate that. But there's just a less customization that you can do with those to match your brand, to match your personality, and so forth. So
yeah. Any other questions? All right. I guess that's it. That website again, if you guys want to try their one pager, is the authorstage.com and use the code SUPERBRAND, and that's all caps. In that
and it'll
code.
be up later. Yeah, it's not up right now to do the super brand, but it will be up this afternoon. So.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you want to play around with it a little bit. Well, Nate and Stacy, thank you. And thank all of you for showing up. Don't forget to come next month, because now that you have a website and a funnel and all that, I'm going to talk about some ways to fill that funnel, because that's truly where you start your audience building. And driving traffic is the hardest part of all of this, unfortunately. Takes some practice. So, all right. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.